wonder if I'm live yet. Let me see. How do I know if I'm live? How do I know? Let me see. How do we know if we're live? Oh, wait, we are live. Okay. You guys, it hit me with an ad, so I wasn't sure. My own broadcast hit me with an ad. Hey, you all. Okay, I accidentally turned my mic settings up really high, so am I too loud for you guys, or is this an okay loudness? We are live. Yes, so exciting. Cool. Loud and clear. Hello. Awesome. Okay, this is exciting. Okay, audio's good. Good. Okay, I had my mic messed up, but hopefully it's back to normal. Hello. Oh, Greg's here. Ooh, I see Kiwi's here. People from the server are here. Hello. All right. Well, today's super exciting. Welcome to Late Stage Capitalism, where I'm hit with my own ads. I didn't even know if I had them turned on. So we're talking today about Mythic Bastionland, which I'm just so excited about, you guys. Like, first of all, this is the full disclaimer as people are getting here. This is not a review. Okay, this is not a review. I have too many biases involved in that I adore Chris McDowall as a human being. I am friends with him in real life. And I deeply admire his work. So this is not going to be some kind of like unbiased review where, you know, you're getting objective talk about the game itself. I'm just genuinely super excited about this game and I cannot wait to look at it. And Chris sent me the preview rules, which are also available through the Kickstarter. And I have already pledged, and I think that you guys absolutely should too. I'm sure by the end of this, I will just be even more thrilled about the fact that I have pledged all in. Oh, Baron DeRop's here. Where are all the knights and nobles at? Wow, you know, arguably one just joined the chat. Yeah, no, this is so great. And Chris, by the way, is so humble. I met him at Gen Con this past year in August in person, and just was so kind. And, you know, he's honestly, so he has designed this game, Into the Odd, which you guys have, I believe, have probably heard of. And then he has also designed Electric Bastionland right here, which is amazing as well. And maybe one thing that people that don't know, or something that Chris himself never mentions, is that Into the Odd was the predecessor game, or as he might say, predecessor, of a lot of games that a lot of people know about, like Cairn. Cairn was very strongly inspired by Into the Odd, and Mausritter is another example of a game that's really well known that was inspired by Chris's work. And so he is too humble to ever say that about himself. So the entire time we were at Gen Con, I would like introduce him with incredible pomp and flourish because he would never even tell anybody who he was. And I'm like, you are standing before Chris McDowall, you know? So I just had so much fun getting to brag about him and cheerlead his work while there. So yes, the first thing about Mythic Bastionland to know is that Chris is an incredible talent. He does the layout as well as the writing, which, you know, when you see how beautiful his books are, you're like blown away by it. Like, he's a huge inspiration to me. His work actually was part of what convinced me to also take a full hand in layout for my own work, because I think that when a writer is able to do that, it's just, it really comes through in the book. And so this, again, is, I'm sure, going to come through fully in Mythic Bastionland. Now, the exciting thing is this book is actually although he wrote it after Electric Bastionland, Mythic Bastionland is talking about the time before Electric Bastionland, or like, you know, from what I gather, it's about knights who are looking for the city. Now, here's the thing. I actually have not looked at all at the preview document yet because I wanted my reactions to it to be, you know, like totally genuine. Like, this is the first time I've done a video where I am going to be reacting for the first time to encountering a new TTRPG that I haven't read yet. I've never done something like this before. Usually I like read it in quiet and like gleefully look through the book on my own. So I thought it would just be fun to sort of share the excitement of getting to see what I know is going to be incredible work. Okay, everybody. So let me, I'm going to drink my lemonade every time Kelsey says night. I've been told by a certain noble in the chat that one can become a knight upon joining his ancestral sword order. So yeah, we'll have to see. After I read Mythic Bastionland, I'm probably going to be like all in on this knight stuff, because one of the cool things that I also gather about Mystic Bastionland is that you are playing the role of a knight in it. So you're choosing from, I think it's 72 different knights is what I saw on the Kickstarter page. And you are playing one of those knights in quests that could be, you know, like just like any role-playing game, it could be like one-shots or it could be campaign level things. And I think that part of the idea is that you're seeking out what eventually the city that becomes Electric Bastionland, or maybe it exists already. You know, we're going to find out. So let's dive in now that we've taken time to do a little bit of intro. I'm just going to start scrolling through here. All right. So here we go. Edition notes. This is a quick start, guys. So you can get this on the Kickstarter. I did link it in the thingy below. All right. So the full version has 72 knights and myths. That makes sense. So this has probably got a slightly curtailed amount. By the way, coffee cheers here. This is my William Shakespeare cup in honor of Chris being from England, and another well-known writer from England. If you've heard of William Shakespeare before. If you haven't, then you should probably just go look that up right now. All right. So cool character sheet. Everything in here. So I like that. I really appreciate that Chris has like a list of changes that he's done between editions and releases. That's actually really useful for people. So that's really appreciated. All right, here we go. Before Into the Odd. All right. So we're learning already. This is before Into the Odd. Inspirations here listed. Oh, Prince Valiant is listed as an inspiration. I used to read that comic in the newspaper. I think Prince Valiant has been out since the 30s. But Scott's here. Hello. The Assassin's Creed style 5e adventure going. I mean, it's working its way into my thoughts. But this live stream needs to be completed in iambic pentameter. Oh, I'm going to shame myself. I don't even know if I could compose one line. Okay, Baron, how about you give us some iambic pentameter to describe how exciting Mythic Bastionland is? Here we go. All right. We have a setting the scene type. On cold mist and hill, beasts winsome and fell. In holdings and havens, the vassals adwell. Seers know the all and start and the end. Myths hushed aloud to its truth must abend. Aside vagabonds on snakeline trails. Oh, this is language that's so good that I can't even. Knights render these stories wrenched from their veils. For the oath, for the glory through sorrow and ache. The city, that quest to which no knight can make. Oh, so I sense that Electric Bastionland is present in here. We're getting hints of it in mentions of the city. The quest. So the knights are questing after the city. This is a really cool way to link these two game worlds together. Okay, so our contents. Wow, there's a lot in here. Getting started, rules, equipment, running the game, Knights and Myths. Now, I'm so excited to check out Knights and Myths. We're going to get to there. But we first must start at the beginning. Here we are, beginnings and glory. So getting started, we have a referee. Okay, so this is like conventional, you need a ref and players. I recall seeing that you can play with just one player or, up to 5 or... so that's really cool. I really like the idea of having like a one referee and one player type thing. That's really fun, and it's really cool to see that a system just supports that right from the start. I was getting my wife Jessie to play a little bit of Shadow Dark, testing some solo rules with me, and so like I hadn't done a lot of that one-on-one type stuff, and we actually had a lot of fun with it. All right, so to start, an adventurer, a young knights errant. they seek glory. So the fact that things like glory are capitalized are telling me that these are perhaps game terms that we're going to see some more expansion on, which I think is really cool. Courtier. I'm sure I said that wrong. Mature knight's gallant. Okay, so they've got a little bit more going for them. And a ruler, a mature knight's tenant. One knight rules a holding, the others in their circle. The seat of power is under a wicked influence. Ooh, that sounds like a good setup for some adventure. Awesome. Scopes. Adventure is 1 session. Okay, interesting. Scopes. Oh, chronicle a known number of sessions. Oh, so these are really cool, like, in-game terminologies to describe like a size of a campaign, which is really neat. And a saga is an indeterminate number of sessions, so that might be like an ongoing campaign versus a chronicle that's sort of a known size of a campaign, around 6 sessions. Yeah, season age turns are planned out ahead of time. So seasons and ages are tracked here. Oh, so cool. Okay. Very interesting. So I like that, like, the size and expectations for the scope of the session is quantified here. That's a really good thing to communicate to your players, because, I think it's interesting that, sometimes when you sit down to run a campaign, sometimes you're asking your friends, like, hey, do you want to play, like, insert game here, like, generically speaking, do you want to play D&D? And some people don't realize that they're committing to what might be, like, an ongoing, like, weeks to months long thing. So having these, like, defined scopes right out the gate seems very wise, very great for setting expectations. And if I'm seeing this right, a chronicle is about 6 sessions, which actually turns out to be about the average length of a campaign, according to a lot of data that I think Wizards of the Coast has collected. So that's a really good number. All right, so we have other elements here on this right column. Glory. All knights seek glory, capitalized glory, which means it's got to be something important here. That they might one day be deemed worthy of the city quest. So that's kind of that's kind of like our ultimate aspiration, is the city quest. Okay, this is good to know. Glory through myths. When a group feels that a myth has been resolved, reaching a conclusion of any type, all knights who played a part gain 1 glory. So we're seeing this as a tracked metric. Okay, and knights have ranks. I love this. Oh, this is like going up through the really cool titles of the knights. Also, one thing that I gathered from the Kickstarter page is that there is hex crawling and like domain style play in Mythic Bastionland, which is really, really cool. I'm so excited to see more about how that gets implemented. If not in the quick start, then definitely in the full rules, because that's it's the kind of thing that I would love to blend into my own home sessions. And see kind of, how Chris, being such an elegant designer, has decided to handle these types of things, which are a really interesting, especially domain play, a really interesting corner of fantasy RPGs that I think designers have often struggled with how to incorporate into their games. Like in a game like Shadowdark, I don't even have domain style play because it just wasn't something that I felt fit with the vibe of the game itself. So the fact that Chris has that incorporated in here is really cool to me. I'm really excited to see how that is. All right, so worthiness. Rank does not immediately grant the knight a council position. It merely proves their worthiness. Capital W, so we might ascertain this as a game term. So you can gain glory by other means. Now, it seems glory must be linked in some way to character progression. So we will see how that goes, but it sounds like there's numerous ways to gain glory. You've got tournaments, big battles, or when the game moves to a new age. All knights gain 1 glory through serving the realm. So there's, multiple ways to progress here. All right, knighthood. All right, chat. Have any of you, like I, dreamed of being knighted someday? Wouldn't it be cool if, you could be a knight somehow? I would absolutely love that. So this game lets me do that here. You are knights. This is what you are. Knights are the PCs of the system, is what I'm seeing. United by a common oath and visions of the city. Okay, you might have dreams of glory, but every knight must accept the risk of death. Absolutely. All right, the seers who knighted you have deemed that you travel as a company. This is great right here, because this is already organizing the player characters into a known group who know each other, and you can skip that awkward how do we all meet each other thing. You have never... Baron's never dreamed of being knighted. You already rank above a knight. Yeah. Okay, this is so cool. Baron has made a semi-iambic pentameter talking about some of the systems here. Yes, one thing that I anticipate holding true is that Mythic Bastionland, I'm assuming, is going to have the system where you don't make attack rolls, you're automatically dealing damage, which makes combat go super fast, and is really, really interesting and cool. I think it's such a great innovation. And I've seen that influence tons of other systems now. Like, I know my friend Brandon over at Runehammer Games has just been working on Crown and Skull, and I know that he was really influenced by that mechanic and has incorporated it into his own system. So again, I love talking about how Chris's designs have had such a large domino effect on game system design as it's moved forward throughout the years. So he is incredibly humble about it and could get away with not being so. But I'll brag about him instead. Here we go. All right, let's get back to our document. All right, so knights have 3 virtues. So these must be your stats. So roll a value for each. All right, so the start that you choose for your company determines the dice roll. So that determines how powerful your knight is from the start. So you have your vigor. All right. That's like your physical strength. Clarity is instinct, mind, eyes. Spirit is your charm, your will, and your heart. Really cool delineation between these 3 stats. Very clear. I love that. All right, roll for guard. Your skill at avoiding wounds. All right. The start that you choose determines the dice roll you make. Makes sense. Okay, so roll or choose a knight on page 24. We're going to get to that. I'm very excited to see what that's all about. So this gives you items, a special ability. Passion, a special means you have to restore your spirit. Very cool. Every knight has some, look at this, basic gear. Every knight knows 3 feats, chosen on page 10. Every knight has sworn the oath. Seek the myths, honor the seers, protect the realm. Ooh, very cool. So this is giving characters some understanding of who they are right from the start and kind of what their goals are, which is really great. I think that's something that is so beneficial to play groups, because nowadays, like, people want to sit down and play. They want to know what they're here to do. Yes, like, you can still have open world gameplay, but it's just like finding ways to skip the chaff of the opening sessions. Like, oh, you all started in a tavern. How do you know each other? And like, ooh, do you have a common goal? You all have to decide on what it is you're actually going to pursue. Like, it's really easy for like one character's goals or motivations to kind of take over. And so what Chris has done here, which is so brilliant, is setting up some guidelines for what you're here to do and what your common beliefs and goals are. And that's going to let you jump right into gameplay, which is really smart. So, all right, we have squires here on the right. Small companies that may, 2 knights or fewer may give each knight a squire. Oh, this is great. So this is a way to help boost your group size if you're playing with a really small group size, like kind of giving you some like pseudo like hirelings, I guess, but who aren't. I like that they're squires because they're not overshadowing you as the main character. Like, that's just implicit already in their title and kind of what abilities they seem to have. They can't gain glory or perform feats. Yeah, good way to keep them sort of like as not main characters but assistants. Cool. When knighted, they gain. Oh, so they can become knighted. I like that. And they have some basic gear. Okay, here are basic rules. Oh, and I'm just looking at. Okay, this is all contained on one page. So cool. All right, so saves. Roll a d20. Love it. D20 based. Equal to or below the relevant virtue. Failure means negative consequences, not always a failed action. So we're rolling under our virtues. Okay, very good to know. That helps kind of frame the whole rest of the system, which I think if people are familiar with Chris's other work, this is lining up. So, all right, virtues can be reduced and raised in a number of ways, but can never go higher than 19 or lower than 0. So we're always leaving room for what I think must be critical successes or failures, or the chance of success or failure always being there some way or another. Turn is enough action to move and then perform an action, always in that order. Very good to know. I really like systems that allow you to do move and action. I feel like it's a sweet spot for feeling like you're contributing enough to your turn. You know, it's hard to find that balance between keeping a turn fast and then giving players choices in what they can do. So I think like move plus action seems like it's a pretty commonly accepted good mix there. All right, so surprise, players normally take the first turn of combat discussing their plan. If they're not ready, they must pass a clarity save or miss the first turn. Very cool. So players always go first. That helps solve initiative issues right there, which still leaves room for surprise, which is great. Like if they're not ready, if they get ambushed, then maybe they don't go first. And That's really those are the two primary use cases of, initiative. You either, I like that the players are going first, except for in the case that they're surprised. So that's very elegant. Again, very elegant. What more could you expect from Chris but elegance? Here we go. So reaction. Non-player characters react in a way that feels appropriate for the context. Yes, context is such a big thing, especially in more modern games. When uncertain, a character makes a spot. Wait, that stands for spirit. A spirit save. I lost my spot. I'll find it again. Don't worry. Reaction makes a spirit save to avoid an unfavorable reaction. Good. Okay. Exposed characters are caught with their guard down or otherwise defenseless are exposed and act as if they had 0 GD. Okay. If they remedy their situation, they are no longer exposed. Traps and ambushes typically catch. Okay. Very good to know. All right. Now GD. Let's look back at what that was because I'm sure I missed that. Let's look back at the start. So with in virtue, gallant with 2d6 GD and 1d6 in each virtue. 1d6 GD. Wow, did I already look over what this means? I'm sure this has a translation. You know what? We'll see what it means in a second once we look at the knights. Young knights, virtue, seeking glory, I feel lost, advise them. All right. Oh, guard. That's what it means. Silly me. Ha ha ha. It means guard. All right. GD is hit points. Right. Yes, GD is basically your hit points there. So, all right. Wow. So if you get caught with your guard down, you basically have 0 guard or 0 hit points. Okay, that's, wow. So getting ambushed is you just don't want to get ambushed. That makes it very, okay. Yeah, it's hit protection. It's hit protection in the other systems. That makes sense. I can only scream and chat in caps. I know what you're doing. You're screaming. All right. Good to know. So feats are special actions. This makes sense. Feats is a good common game term where we all understand what that means ever since 3rd edition. Maybe even before. Who knows? Death, even the boldest knight can die. Oh, wait, feats, I like this. Okay, using feats risks the knight risks that you become fatigued, which prevents you from using further feats. So interesting. So there's an economy to feats. Cool. There's a risk versus reward for using them, so they're not always there. It's not like a static thing. It's almost kind of like per day stuff, or like Vancian spellcasting where you're risking running out of that resource, which is cool. This is cool. So I really like that. So all right, now death. Even the boldest knight can die a sudden or ignoble death. Yes, prepare yourself. When a knight dies, the player creates a new knight, and they're added to the company. Makes sense. Or assume control of a squire. Yes, death is a real risk in this game. All right, now attacks. Take the attack dice noted on your weapon, your specific weapon and shield. All right, so all combatants attacking the same target roll their dice at the same time. If the target or their nearby allies can deny, they may use it. All right, so I'm assuming deny is some kind of roll, an attempt to avoid being injured. But attackers perform gambits. Ooh, we will see what that is. Page 10. Take the highest die remaining and any extra damage from attackers bolstering the attack. Subtract the target's total armor. The attack causes that much damage. Okay, so essentially we're not rolling to hit. It sounds like we might be rolling to avoid, which I believe is the case. But this really speeds combat up. And you're essentially you're kind of creating a formula where you're coming to a number that translates into your damage. That's really cool. And this is, again, how Chris's other systems work. So, all right, so a knight with a mace and shield is aided by an ally with 2 daggers. Oh, I really appreciate that there's an example here. This always helps. This helps my tiny pea brain wrap around things like simple game mechanics that I have to struggle to ingest. All right, impaired attacks roll d4 only. Good to know. Ooh, blast attacks target everybody in their area. All right. Damage is deducted from the target's guard. Right, their hit points. There we go. So if they have at least 1 remaining, they evaded. Ooh, if it leaves them with exactly 0, then there's guard. If it exceeds their guard, they are wounded. Ooh, if they lose half or more of their remaining vigor, it's a mortal wound. So when like you don't have any defense, you are like attacked to one of your ability scores, which is your vigor. So like being ambushed is like really bad because you don't have any guard. So you're immediately taking hits to your vigor, which can immediately result in mortal wounds. So I like that. That's definitely, that definitely embodies the sort of, Arthurian like situation in which an ambush is just so devastating and so heinous. Like, like one goblin can fly out of a tree and knock Isildur off his horse and kill him and knock the ring into the river just from an ambush. So I like it a lot when ambush and surprise is really particularly deadly. It really shapes the gameplay for sure. All right, let's take a sip of our Shakespearean coffee here. Derek Jensen, welcome to the chat. I'm so glad you found the Arcane Library. Here we're talking about, for the newcomers, we're talking about Chris McDowall's newest project, Mythic Bastionland. I finally get to talk about it because it released on Kickstarter today, and I really just wanted to look through it, the second it became public, and do a genuine first reactions to it. I have not looked through this document at all yet. This is an utterly biased take because Chris is the most lovely person and a genius game designer, so there's no way I'm not going to like this. If you want an unbiased take, you gotta look elsewhere. Sorry, I'm not pretending this is a review. This is not one at all. This is an public excitement session. All right, here we go. I think Jessie just laughed at me for saying that. Can you hear her laughing? She's sitting next to me. All right. Harm and scars. I like this. All right, so here are ways that you can take injury now. It looks like if you're at exactly 0 guard, you take a scar, which is cool. This is actually a really cool way to like have your character accumulate some cool stories. It's an RPG conspiracy. Yeah, it's funny. I gotta crack up because Greg, people are like, no, it's nepotism to talk about your friend's stuff, and I'm like, I would, if I had an audience of one person, I would still be talking about my friend's stuff because they're my peers in the industry and I love what they do, and I'm a fan of their work, so I'm like geeking out wholeheartedly about my friend's work here, and I am so glad that I have you all here to do that with me. But I don't want anyone to mistake this as me being unfair. I'm always going to talk about work from people who I've always admired and who I like as human beings. So, why not? You gotta talk about your friend's cool work. Like, let's do it. So, all right, virtue loss. Virtues may be reduced. By means other than damage. So like ability score loss is kind of how I would translate this into my D&D little tiny brain. All right, victims are only slain or mortally wounded if virtue is reduced by damage, never by loss. Okay, good to know. So, like, you have to actually take damage to that. You can't be, like, reduced down and withered away. It really has to be genuine damage. So at Vigor 0, you're exhausted and cannot attack if you have moved. Okay, so that limits your action economy. You have to start making tough choices about your action economy as the penalty to dropping down to that level of injury. Clarity 0, you're exposed. Oh, and treated as though you're always being ambushed. Now, at Spirit 0, your attacks are impaired, rolling a single d4. Really cool. So all of these affect you in a different way if you are reduced down to low levels or 0 in these particular virtues. Okay, now recovery. Guard is fully restored with just a moment of peace after danger has passed. Fatigue is also removed this way. Oh, very, very cool. So yeah, so what this allows is kind of, you get a strong rebound. Like if you're able to survive a fight, there's not this like intense attrition built into this game like there is with like original D&D where you recover 1 hit point a day. And it makes sense in the system because you're not creating like a stable of characters like one might have been doing in original D&D, which is kind of part of the reason why healing was so slow, was to encourage people to like be taking out multiple characters and developing multiple characters. Well, Mythic Bastionland is very focused on the small group of knights, and so in my opinion it really makes sense to have healing be faster, because the only thing that slow healing would do would be putting perhaps too much time penalty, I guess, on you. Like, yes, like time matters in all game systems. Like time pressure is what creates urgency and suspense. And I can already tell from the first few pages we've read here that there is a time passage type system in here, which I'm really excited to see. So yes, time matters. But when you're looking at why slow healing versus not slow healing exists in a game, I think it comes down to is it a single character or small group focused system that benefits from allowing your characters to get back into the action quickly, or is it a more attrition style system? And so Chris has gone in a direction that's different from D&D here, and I think that's a great choice. That's a great choice for what this game is supporting. So, all right, it's funny because here's another thing. This is like the how like everybody who eats food thinks they're a chef. Like, this is the same for me. Like, I've written and designed game stuff, but it's really easy to look at the choice a designer has made and been like, oh, that makes sense in hindsight. But I'm sure that things like this, Chris had to really sweat about and test and make decisions on. So, it's really interesting to think like how quickly you can approve of something and understand it, but then the amount of work that went into getting to that point from the designer side was probably a lot, and it took, I'm sure, a lot of creativity and a lot of like galaxy brain on Chris's part to bring all of these systems together. So it's just really satisfying to see the decisions that he's made and kind of try to guess at some of their purpose and how they affect the game overall. I think it's really fun and exciting, and hope doesn't belittle in any way the I'm sure the amount of work that went into making these design decisions. There's a lot to be learned from with all of this. So okay, now virtues can be restored by 3 means: consuming a remedy, performing a specific action, or skipping to a new season, so letting time pass. Interesting. Vigor is restored by consuming sustenance or spending a full day in warm hospitality. I like that a lot. Clarity is restored by consuming a stimulant or receiving guidance from a seer. Oh, very cool. And spirit is restored by consuming sacrament or indulging a passion. Okay, very cool. Again, capitalized letters so we can tell these are game terms. A remedy is a sizable bundle of materials and tools. All right. A person or dedicated beast of burden can carry 1 at once. Okay. Remedy, whole phase of the day. Virtues are restored by resolving any omens or other encounters. A single remedy is enough to benefit all company present. Oh, great. So everybody benefits from it. That's great. Again, really focusing on the group. I like that. So scars. Now this is really cool. Take the die that caused a scar and roll it again. Ooh. Oh, so this is really elegant. The more dangerous the weapon, the higher result you have a chance at getting. And therefore probably the more grievous the scar. Let's look at this. So, okay, yeah, so like a low roll is distress, a lucky escape. We move on to, disfigurement, smash, stun, rupture. Oh yeah, these are definitely getting worse as we go. Gouge, concussion. And so some of these are doing like damage to your virtues, or loss to your virtues. So it's not like it's going to kill you. You would have to be damaged for it to kill you or, cause you harm. Agony, mutilation, doom. A cheated death haunts you. Oh, I love that humiliation is the worst one here. A most dolorous stroke. Humiliation in a world like of knights in honor. That is really cool. That tells you a lot, right, about the game world. Just this table tells you a lot about the game world, where humiliation is the worst scar that you could take. That's really, really neat. I love that. All right. So, gosh, okay, now I'm realizing this is a long document, you guys. So we're going to go through like kind of the core stuff here. And then I think there are going to be sections where, there's going to be most likely like, I'm assuming that there are a lot of knights that you could choose from. So we probably won't look at every single knight, but I just want to look at the specifics of combat here. So after using a feat, you must pass a save or become fatigued. Okay, so yeah, we're putting a limit on, a cost versus reward thing on feats. So, all right, so we've got smite, focus, and deny are some of your feats. Gambits. So these are, again, a part of the whole order of operations of combat here. You've got gambits later on into the order of operations. Attackers may discard any number of attack dice of 4 or higher to perform a gambit. Okay, so an attacker can trade in one of their good rolls to do a gambit. The attack, bolster the attack for +1. Move after the attack. Oh, cool. Okay, repel a foe away from you. Oh, really neat. So you can trade in a good attack for a maneuver instead, essentially. Other effect of similar impact. Cool. I like that last option there, allowing you to kind of get creative. So there's some concretely defined ones to draw from, and then you can lean into your own creativity here. Chris is giving you permission to do that. Awesome. If a die of 8 or higher is used in melee, then a strong gambit is performed. Ooh, which increases the effect of it. Nice, nice. All right. Minor actions don't count as a combatant's action. I firmly love and agree with that. Bonus attack dice gained from useful information. Okay, so if you're ready and you have a tactical advantage, plus D8 is a bonus there. Okay, we've got unarmed combat, defined range combat. Purely ranged weapons cannot be used in melee. Makes sense. Protective cover grants an additional point of armor against ranged attacks. Cool, cool, cool. Mounted combat, you've got to have that with knights, right? Oh, Jason, hi, welcome for joining. Or did that make sense? Welcome and thanks for joining. We've got mounted combatants using their steeds' trample attack in addition to their own weapons when charging enemies on foot. Ooh, yeah, so huge action economy benefit if you are mounted and charging people on foot. Doesn't work against spear walls. Rightly so. And steeds can be targeted separately by attacks. Being dismounted harms you. Cool, cool. Okay, so it seems like mounted combat is kind of even when you're going against another mounted person, but obviously there's an advantage against people on foot, unless they have spears. Very realistic. All right, duels and jousts. Mutually agreed to engage in a duel, joust. Okay, fighters roll, but their attacks are rolled and resolved simultaneously, including the effects of gambits. Cool. Okay, cool. Shield walls and spear walls. This is good to know. If you're more allies may form a wall. If they all have shields, like legit shields, not bucklers, then they gain an additional point of armor. If they all bear spears, and enemies cannot attack on the turn that they charge. Ooh. So that's really strong against mounted combatants in particular. All right, wavering morale. Individuals who are wounded or lose half their number must pass a spirit save to avoid rout or surrender. Really great. I think morale rules have a place in so many systems because it's a strategy you can use to not have to fight to the death. Because in like chat, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this, but there's sort of this grindy fight to the death kind of mentality in some of the more recent like big, like I could point to 5th edition D&D where there's not really a morale system in it. It can make combat very grindy because you're fighting to the last hit point type thing, and that doesn't always lead to satisfying or suspenseful combats because there's usually a point in time in which you realize that you're gonna win, and then it's just a matter of like trudging forward to that inevitability. And so that's why I really like morale systems, because it helps you end a battle where you're pretty much decisively going to win it without having to just mud stomp your way through the whole thing. It's a really good design thing. And morale does not affect player characters, right? Because player characters want to be able to give it their all down to the last drop of blood. Totally makes sense, but when they're fighting enemies, you don't need to play out every last sword swing when clearly the group has prevailed, I should say. So, all right, warfare. We've got war bands leading from the front. All right. Oh, ships. We were talking about ships and structures. 24 or so combats are treated as a war band. This is cool. Okay, so there's specific stats, like turning characters into their own specific stat block that allows you to do warfare, like seemingly at the single unit level, but representing lots of people. That is really cool. Really cool. You've got a warband of knights. Oh, nice. Okay, look at that. Really cool. Yeah, that's a really neat way to consolidate like large scale combat into something manageable. Really cool. Fun fact, most pre-modern battles only had 5 to 10% attrition casualty rate. The vast number of deaths in the army actually happened from disease and exhaustion. Ooh, that doesn't come as a surprise, really. It seems like, the hardships of being out in the field is perhaps even worse than the combat itself. I've always wondered this, and maybe because we have Bear Drop in the chat who knows a lot about historical warfare, I've always wondered, like pitched battles on a field. I mean, those can't last for very long because, imagine... like you look at an MMA fighter, okay, in this day and age, and the amount of effort into fighting with their peak skill against a worthy opponent, it's exhausting, like those are not super long fights. So imagine like, in a combat for your life on a muddy field in armor, how long could one truly fight for? I can't imagine like you could actually go full steam for more than an hour or two at a time. So I've always wondered, how does that translate into actual historical battles? Was there a front that would meet and then like they would have to eventually pull back because their fighters were just getting too exhausted? Like, did people really fight from dusk till dawn at that rate? Maybe some experts in our chat will be able to weigh in on that. All right, arms and goods. Great, we've got only the rich deal in coin. Most trade is an exchange of raw materials, goods, or a service. Very cool, very cool. Yep, a specialist for uncommon items. Common items widely available, rare items are truly treasured. Wielding weapons. Okay, cool. So we're defining weapon weights and things like one-handed versus two-handed. Common weapons. Long weapons are dealing more damage. Very cool. The more common weapons seem like they're less damage dealing. It makes sense. Dungeon Masterpiece. The Baron is selling his pitched battles only lasted for 4 to 6 hours. Only most extreme battles were an actual engagement for more than 8 hours. Yeah, there's the incredible amount of like physical fitness it would take to fight in full armor in a pitched battle for that many hours. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think. So, it must have been just truly exhausting. And, only peak output for a short amount of time there. Celts were ballers. They used chariots. Oh yeah, chariots to rotate troops behind a shield wall. Geez, where'd they learn that from? The Romans? Or did they just start doing that before anyone ever built Hadrian's Wall? Yeah, wow, yeah, rotating fresh troops up front must be extremely advantageous if able to be done. Yeah. All right, so we've got weapons, specialist weapons, armor, all of this contained on one page. Oh, rare beasts, uncommon beasts, common beasts. Really cool how this is defined. I love this. And then we've got remedies, which we learned about earlier. Ways to recover your, damage, like ability scores, essentially. Chris, don't kill me for translating this into D&D speak. It's just how my brain helps, put things into the vernacular that I'm most familiar with. So yes, and it's cool to see kind of crossovers between like a D&D like system and then how some things like that might be represented in Mythic Bastionland. All right, people and realms. All right, this is talking about services that can be rendered, common and uncommon and rare. I'm seeing a lot of cool breakdown of different elements between common, uncommon, and rare. It's a great way to categorize stuff. It immediately communicates to you like how likely am I to be able to get this kind of thing? How often should I be able to access it? I think lots of good stuff can be broken down into these 3 categories. So it's cool to see that like happening, in when we're talking about gear, when we're talking about like people and services and stuff. Really good way to categorize it. Realms. Myths, stories of, okay, so the world is fractured into petty realms. Myths are stories that become truths. There's no such thing as just a myth. Okay, so nobody agrees on the details, but generally people are like agreeing that the myth does exist in some way. So roles, vassal, vagabond, knight, or seer makes sense. Vassals serve a liege, typically a knight. Vagabonds roam. Oh, yes, they do. Seers are those who understand the nature of myth, grant legitimacy. Yeah, seer kind of strikes me as like a Merlin type figure, like maybe like a kind of a mystic, an advisor, like a spiritual leader, like a one who sees the future, or one who knows things. We've got knights, and then we've got faith. Some believe there's truth in the sky. Some look to nature, and some believe in the sacred stories. Oh, cool. I love it. Okay, rules for creating a realm. Okay, this is something I was so excited to see because I again saw this mentioned on the Kickstarter. There is a system in here for creating like a hex map and doing hex crawling. So this is Chris's system in Mythic Bastionland for it. The guidelines on this page make for a typical realm, but all of them can be bent or broken in creating your own realms. Yeah, absolutely. Last word on battle, though? Let me check our chat. The vast majority of the morning would be 2 armies staring at each other while commanders adjusted lines till finally someone issued a charge order 3 to 5 hours later. They're all trying to line up for the perfect shot. And except in rare cases, Agincourt knights rarely were killed. Oh yeah, I remember. Now I'm probably saying it wrong, Agincourt. I've read a ton about it. That was a pretty brutal one where I think one side was expecting a gentleman's battle and the other side was like, "Now we're here to kill you," and it kind of turned into a muddy mess where the British won against the French because they were like, "Stop messing with us. You know, we're not gonna just like, you know, honor duel this out. We're fighting for our lives." And you know, the French were not prepared for a very muddy battlefield, and that really went against them. So they got creamed. And I believe that was what allowed England to remain as its own kingdom. So interesting history. Now, hex map. Let's get back to our hex map. A realm is mapped on a hexagonal grid. Cool, we're using hexes. Covering the loose rule of a seat of power. Okay, 12 by 12 grid. Good, cool. We have a call out to a normal size here. Players typically get a copy of the map. It's not like a total secret from them. That's good. Distance covered by each hexagon is a hex league, commonly called a hex. Ooh, is that a measurement system that Chris made up? We were just joking about how both in England and the US, we have this bizarre blend of the metric and imperial system still. You know, like you still got a pint of beer, but you know, that and milk are the only two liquids that are really referred to anymore as pints. You run several kilometers, but you drive a certain number of miles. So we're making up our own measurement systems custom to our preferences. All right, a hex league. Cool. The area a hill fort can overlook. The area the guards can patrol in a day. Cool. Good context for how big that is. Wilderness. Most hexes are wilderness. All right. Spark tables. Ooh, I love spark tables. I'm glad there are some in this book. All right. Holdings is a seat of power. All right. Myth hexes. I might sneeze live on the air. Hold on. Here it comes. No. I'm not going to sneeze. Oh, I hate that. I'm still recovering from COVID, so you still got a little bit of the icky going on. All right. Landmarks. Some hexes contain a landmark discovered when travelers roll 4 to 6 on a wilderness roll. Typical realm has 3 or 4 of each type of landmark. Cool. Okay. Even characters who know a landmark's location must still make a roll to check for omens as they travel there. Okay. Good. So, how much distance does a hex cover? A hex league. I really like that word. It actually sounds really cool. Dwellings, sanctums, monuments, hazards, curses, and ruins are types of things that you might encounter as landmarks. All right. You can add details using the spark tables. Really cool to have those. Distant realms are usually bordered by water, mountains, or wasteland, though claims are often disputed. Traveling to a distant realm normally sees you arrive in the next season. Really cool. Okay. Very cool. All right. Yeah. All right. Ooh, I love how our chat is discussing some of the nuances of historical mounted combat. I really love that Chris is representing definite historical things here. And you know, interestingly, I'm seeing this like as kind of like so far feeling like kind of low magic and really focused on the knights and like their actual existence as warriors in the world. And like, yeah, we're getting like, we have seers and faiths and stuff that are hinting at the mystical, but it's not super overt. Like, this isn't high fantasy. This is kind of like Arthurian. And it's drawing from the history of England and its own folk and fairy tales from what I've seen Chris say about it on the Kickstarter, which is really cool. I love that. All right, so we're looking now at the pages about sites. All right, a knight's journey, points and routes. So I won't get into the weeds on our hex crawling system. I'm delighted to see that there's a really cool like one-page system here to do that. But we have lots of book to get through, so we'll jump ahead knowing that we have a way to generate routes, points of interest, and we've got some good examples here too to reference back to. All right, refereeing. Okay, so this is for the person running the game. All right. This is some good advice, primacy of action. Yeah, this is the most important thing. Past action taken by the players supersedes content generated by prompts or rules. Their deeds are reality. Very important and good to note. It is the players who are shaping the game world. I love that Chris calls that out. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Giving information. Players who can only make interesting choices. Yes, I so agree with this. Players can only make legitimate choices when they have information about the situation that they're being presented with. So it's important to give players something to go on so that they can make an actual decision. I love that Chris is talking about this. He's encouraging improvisation. And prompts. Every night in Myth spread has prompts across its base. These serve as cues for improvisation. Really great. Luck roll. If you need to consult the whims of fate, make a luck roll on a d6. A high roll favors the characters, a low one does not. Really, really handy. Action procedures are defined. So clarifying intent, leverage, what makes it possible, cost, would it use a resource, risk, what's at risk, and then impact, showing the consequences, move forward. All right, very cool. These are like really great just overall game philosophy things here that Chris communicates very elegantly. I love that some things you can do are threaten, escalate, or execute. You can create a new problem, you can make a problem worse, so you can deliver on a threat. These kind of have the feeling almost of like moves from the, like Apocalypse, powered by the Apocalypse system, where you're giving the game master like kind of like an abstract thing that they can do to forward some kind of concrete thing in the game world. So it's kind of like a move, but it seems a little bit more broad. It's a little bit more like in the form of guidance instead of something super, super specific that you're like, increase the threat by +1 point. It's not really that. It's just kind of saying create a new problem, threaten the characters by creating a new problem. So it's very open-ended. Ending a session, discuss if we feel right for a session or age to pass between now and then. Yeah, so all right, ask the players if they have any plans or ambitions. Okay, so yeah, you're kind of reaching a consensus about whether it's time to move the session forward. We've got good time tracking. We have years with seasons. We've got spring, harvest, and winter. There are festivals. There are festivals called out with where things are happening during those. That's really great. A life has 3 ages. Oh, wow. So your character is maturing over time. There is actual concrete passage of time for your night. How cool is that? That's so you know within the span of your knight's life, you only have so much that you can do in the seasons and ages that are passing. I think that's really, it's kind of cool and bittersweet and very realistic and very human. That really humanizes the characters. And I think incentivizes people to continue the story of their ancestors' exploits on into the future. Advancing time, we've got the passage of time, seasons pass, between ages. Oh wow, so we have large world events that happen between ages. Very cool. I love it. All right, travel. Cool. Okay, so this is gonna factor back into the hex crawling rules. There's a lot of good nuance here. Camping, supplies, nighttime stuff, sleeping, winter. There's special considerations during winter. Omens. All right, the first encounter with a specific myth is always an omen. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got exploration rules here, gathering folklore. Everyone knows their local myth, but seers hold wisdom beyond mere commoners. Okay, so depending on how important you are, enough or more about myths, and there's some geographical proximity that comes into play with that. Really cool. So theoretically, the more well-traveled you are, the more you might actually know myths. I like that. That feels very true. Ruling a dominion. So there's domain stuff in here. Ooh, how interesting. This forms a domain. Wilderness hexes and their landmark formerly fall under the dominion. Prestigious seats that must be filled for a domain to run smoothly. This is the council. Wow, so you have different roles of people who are helping you run your domain. You have a court with, again, defined roles in it. And then crises that happen at the domain level here. So, so interesting. At the start of a new season, you make a luck roll to determine what's going on. Wow, interesting. And then there's always something, you're getting a chance at something interesting happening at the domain level. Like something as important as getting food into the stores, otherwise your entire domain could suffer. Wow. Oh, and then, if you actually let too much time pass without resolving some of these problems, there's revolt. Oh, that's really cool. This is incredible how much is communicated about this on one page, too. This is really great. Really great. All right. Authority. Mustering troops. So this seems to tie into domain level stuff. Nature. The majority of many realms wilderness. Oh, this is a spark table. Oh, great. Oh, this lets you describe like the character of different things: land, sky, water, weather, flora, fauna. These are great. Spark tables are so handy to kind of inspire you into just giving some specific details to a place that otherwise you might not have been able to improvise. Civilization spark tables, really cool. People spark tables, man, these are really handy. These could be used in any system, honestly, just about any system. Combat sparks. Oh, okay, so we're at the knights now. All right, here we go. Roll a d6 and a d12. Read the d6 first. Pages list a d6 in a square and a d12 in a pentagon. Oh, each knight can be used for a player character or non-player character. So this tells you kind of who you come up with. Oh my gosh, and there's a lot of options. There's 12 options per face on the die. We've got the true knight. That's a cool one. Trail knight, amber knight, moat knight, lance knight, mule knight, iron knight, dusk knight, thunder knight. Wow, so these are all specific knights that you could play. How cool is that? And here are your myths. The chariot, the lizard, the sprite, the tree. How cool. Oh my gosh, so this is each character here. The true knight. A pact. Oh, so these are your player characters. Their property, their abilities, their passion here. Oh, symbol of truth. So you have a symbol of truth, and like these things happen based on the trigger here, which is really cool. Knighted by they tell you who you were knighted by. That's so cool. That's such a neat story link. Knighted by the Rotted Seer. You get to actually have the stats for who you were knighted by. Sees the way to live on through any amount of physical decay. Oh, wow. Wow, so here's another one. The Plague. This is like, wow, the Plague. They sang, flutters in the air. So this is like a myth. Okay. Yeah, so this is one of the myths. So here are the omens that speak to the myth. Angry infected. Wow, this is really cool. So these are things you're going to encounter and grow to learn about over time. You're going to learn about the omens of this myth. Wow, and this is a thing that can come to pass. Really cool. I love that. Ooh, the Snare Knight, knighted by the Swollen Seer. Knight and Companion. Oh, so you have a little companion animal. So each of these knights has like a unique feature built into them. That is just so cool. Here we've got another omen. The Wall. Cutting through the land, the storms cannot cross its heights. Guarding from invasion, but also escape. All right, this is so cool. So I could look through these for ages. I love how much detail, the art that's given to each one of these. I love that you know who they're knighted by and they each have their own unique thing. So I'm gonna scroll just in the interest of time. Ooh, wow. So they're still in the works here. I know Chris said that art's still pending for these, but it's so cool. Each one's gonna get their own piece of art. That is magnificent. And I kind of think that the rest of the book is talking about the knights and the omens associated with them and locations. So this is a part that I would recommend downloading to read through one by one and get a sense for each of them. The Citadel, the Catacomb. Gosh, I'm just seeing such cool stuff. Just the names in here really evoke, the Magpie Knight. It really evokes a feel of the world. And you learn more about the world as you read, you know? We started off not knowing, anything really about the system. Like, I came into this cold because I wanted to just get a genuine reaction about everything. And like, look how much we learned about the game world just by reading, and the feel and the tone of it, and just the way that the world builds itself through the choice of titles and words and character types, and how much magic we have available versus not. And this is just really cool. You don't need a primer on the world in this book. Like, you learn it just by reading, which is great. All right, so I'm scrolling through the rest of this document. It looks like at the end here we're getting a little bit of a play example. That is really, really helpful. And it looks like not only do we have a play example, but then we have designer notes thoughts on it, which is great. So handy. I love reading play examples in books, and I don't think I don't recall seeing one that has like the designer's commentary along the side of it too. That is so helpful. Awesome. Character creation example with, again, thoughts about this. This is really, really useful. Teaching the rules example and thoughts. Primacy of action example and thoughts. This is super, super good. This is something that I wish everyone would do. In hindsight, I like see such value in this, and I'm like, why wouldn't somebody do this? This is great. This is so great. Giving a play example and then the designer's thoughts. Wow. Getting rules wrong examples, getting stuck examples. Jeez, like, Chris, you're a genius. This was such an incredibly useful thing to include in the book. Like, I'm gobsmacked by this. What a smart thing to do. And I'm gonna really enjoy reading through these examples, because it really puts the gameplay in my own mind. These kinds of things are what really allows me to understand how the game is supposed to be played, because just reading a book itself, it's hard to pin it all together. Even a system that's really elegant like this, putting everything into motion is challenging, and examples of play have been kind of the way to help people really understand how game is meant to work. But including your director's notes or designer's notes along the side of it is a huge step up. Like, A+, like, gold medal genius maneuver right there. Super cool. Man, all these examples are so handy. Like, even if you're not a referee of Mythic Bastionland, just reading these could literally apply to any game, Like, I think just this alone is incredible value, and you're getting insights that are from somebody who is such a notable game designer about how to leverage the rules in a way that are really in line with the design intent. I love seeing how many of these there are. I'm going to read through these with great interest and really kind of dig into Chris's mindset with how the systems of this game work. So, gosh, we actually got through our look through here in just about an hour flat. So, I'm going to be going back and, picking through each of these things individually with great interest. I think some of the standout things to me are, I just love that the knights are their own unique characters that have attached game world stuff, and that you're picking from them, and that as you sit down to play, the goals of your group and the purpose for your group coming together are already really well defined. It lets you jump right into gameplay. I love the sort of undertone of mysticism in here without it being overtly high magic or super magical. That is such a good vibe. I really appreciate the examples of play and then designer insight. I think that was the thing that actually blew me away, as far as something I wasn't expecting, that I'm just absolutely delighted to see. That kind of thing. I mean, that kind of thing is just absolute gold for anybody, regardless of what games you play, whether you're a designer, whether you are just trying to get your feet wet with gaming. How useful is that stuff? Gosh, man, I'm gonna be sad when a book I read doesn't have that now. It seems like it makes so much sense to include. So, yeah, I'm blown away by that. I'm blown away. And it's such a worthy thing to have, Again, Chris is somebody who I absolutely adore, a friend, and someone who I hope reaches immense success with this Kickstarter. It's already going super, super well. So if you pledge for it, I mean, you're already pledging on to a project that has guaranteed chance of funding. It's well overfunded. And I think that, you know, Chris has a history of delivering. And so that's going to be really cool. And like the quality of his books, I mean, are just absolutely the best you could ask for. You know, like ribbon bookmarks and beautiful art that's themed throughout, incredibly well done layout. I see in the comments, the forced change of seasons seems a little whack. You know, everything is a one shot forever. No, I think that like from what I understand is that the seasons will change over time, but you do have the same night for a long stretch. Like multiple seasons go by in each age, and then a night like lives for multiple ages. So I think like the passage of time via seasons looks like a way to kind of push world events forward. And give knights things to respond to and address, especially at the domain management level. But seemingly knights definitely get many seasons worth of gameplay in each of their lifetimes. And, you know, I'm sure that a game master who wanted to have players playing the same characters could easily, you know, reduce the scale of time in such a way that if you want more seasons or more ages to exist per each knight's lifetime, it doesn't seem like it would be hard to incorporate. Maybe we can ask Chris about his thoughts on that kind of thing over on the Kickstarter or something. I'll ask him about it. So, all right, everybody, I'll wrap up the broadcast. Thank you so much for being here, for being as excited as I am about this and hanging out with me and talking about it. So, all right, everybody, have a good rest of your day.